By far, the most prominent connections you can make to Silent Hill are from the world of moving pictures.
That's film and television.
Most of the movies cited by Team Silent are just oozing with reference material for a game about a messed up town, directed by legends of the craft. There's no person whose work has influenced the Silent Hill series more than David Lynch.
Hi, David. Hi there. How you doing?
And the quality of his films that Team Silent emulated most is the blurring of the line between dream and reality.
Waking dreams are the ones that are important. The ones that come when I'm quietly sitting in a chair, letting my mind wander. When you sleep, you don't control your dream. I like to dive into a dream world that I've made, a world I chose and that I have complete control over. Each of Lynch's films is a mystery to solve, a series of clues to piece together. As such, they are heavily laden with symbolism, and habitually deal with the themes of duality and fractured identity. Lynch has a way of exposing the sinister and mysterious side of everyday life, and routinely pushes his characters past the threshold to discover their own hidden darkness. When you have a note and another detuned note buzzes against it, there's something in between those two notes that's the magical area. It's a balance, and I think since we live in a world of dualities, hot and cold, high and low, the whole thing, that any balancing point is very special and beautiful.
A common motif for Lynch is to portray normal everyday items and occurrences in such a way that they take on a certain strange dark quality that might well have originated this idea from Masashi Tsuboyama.
The existence of fog and darkness in the real and alternate world is an important element in creating fear, just as in the previous title. However, for this title, I was conscious of a certain strangeness that was present in the game and in our daily lives. What I mean by strangeness is unexplained occurrences that can happen on and off without any real reason. Examples within the game would be the existence of red squares, the circumstances in which you get the handgun, traffic lights which are turned on in the deserted town, wandering monsters in the real world, buildings of unrealistic structure, though they seem realistic on the surface, etc. Moreover, we incorporate these ideas of strangeness throughout the game. It adds a different quality to the oppressive fear already prevalent.
Lost Memories cites Eraserhead and Dune as inspirational works, but there isn't anything specific in these films that can be tied directly to any part of the Silent Hill series beyond a suggestion of the dreamlike atmosphere that Lynch's films invoke. Maybe the split worm. Maybe. But there are a few of Lynch's works in particular that have more definitive connections to Silent Hill's setting and the stories it tells.
Personally, I think Twin Peaks is the best thing he's ever done. His style has influenced the series, especially Silent Hill 2. Twin Peaks is one of my personal favorites.
Of all of David Lynch's works, the one most firmly rooted in the series' basic concepts is Twin Peaks. The show is about the dual life of Laura Palmer and FBI agent Dale Cooper's investigation of her murder in a small northwestern town.
There are many stories in Twin Peaks, yet they all have about them a sense of mystery. The mystery of the woods surrounding Twin Peaks.
At first, Twin Peaks seems like a quiet, idyllic community, but Cooper's investigation reveals a darker side to the town. As events unfold, we find that Laura Palmer was involved with the local drug trade, and that her murder is connected to legends that the local Native Americans tell of another world called the White Lodge.
Cooper, you may be fearless in this world, but there are other worlds. My people believe that the White Lodge is a place where the spirits that rule man and nature here reside. There is also a legend of a place called the Black Lodge, the shadow self of the White Lodge. The legend says that every spirit must pass through there on the way to perfection. There, you will meet your own shadow self. But it is said, if you confront the Black Lodge with imperfect courage, it will utterly annihilate your soul.
The White and Black Lodges operate under their own strange rules. Time and space mean nothing, and there is a hierarchy of otherworldly beings that live there, sometimes entering our world to carry out their sinister plans.
I want all mine Garmandosia.
The entrance to the White Lodge is located somewhere in the woods that surround Twin Peaks, and the wind that blows through the trees carries its power into the town, causing strange phenomena.
As the night wind blows, the boughs move to and fro, the magic rustling that brings on the dark dream, the dream of suffering and pain.
There's a sort of evil out there. Something very, very strange in these old woods. Call it what you want. A darkness, a presence. It takes many forms, but it's been out there for as long as anyone can remember.
The white and black lodges in Twin Peaks are analogous to Silent Hill's nightmare world, filled with a hierarchy of demons, and the wind blowing from the woods is much like the fog that rises from Toluca Lake, bringing with it a mysterious power that causes negative effects on the town's citizens. A mysterious power of Native American legend. Coincidentally, at more than one point, the show suggests the possibility that extraterrestrials are responsible for all of the weird happenings in the town. The Silent Hill series offers this explanation as a running gag, though the idea actually came from a Team Silent staff suggestion box along with Silent Hill 2's dog ending. Though we happen to prefer the sun was too bright explanation. Hilarious. Silent Hill takes more than just basic concepts from Twin Peaks. Even though Lost Memories states that there's no particular significance, Cheryl Mason is named after Cheryl Lee, the actress that plays both Laura Palmer and Laura's cousin, Maddie Ferguson, who is identical to Laura in every way except her hair color. She later meets the same fate as Laura. These circumstances carry over to Silent Hill 2, with Maria appearing as Mary's double, and repeatedly meeting the same fate as James's late wife.
Lost Highway is another one of David Lynch's works that inspired significant plot details for Silent Hill 2.
Tell me I didn't kill her.
Lost Highway is about a man who is living in a dream world and learns that he has forgotten about murdering his wife through videotapes that the Mystery Man, a manifestation of his conscience, is sending to him in the mail. Attempting to escape guilt, he invents a new reality with a new identity for himself. In his new reality, his wife is a different, sexier person with different colored hair. His conscience hounds him to accept his guilt.
What the f*** is your name?
And helps him to kill Mr. Eddie, the manifestation of his rage.
Don't you ever tailgate! Ever!
Tell him you won't tailgate.
Ever!
In addition to David Lynch's films, Team Silent was also inspired by his avant-garde stage production called Industrial Symphony No. 1. It's a depiction of Laura Dern's nightmare in the wake of a terrible breakup with Nicolas Cage.
I'm taking off, baby.
Please don't go.
The show is loaded with strange, symbolic imagery that includes a man with a flashlight searching through darkness, a skinned deer on stilts resting on a gurney in the middle of a stage, and dreamy musical interludes interrupted by air raid sirens that signify the coming darkness.
The sound of the siren itself appears in Silent Hill, constantly sounding in the background when the setting changes to the horrible other world. I was quite interested in the idea of using something that symbolizes the bad and ominous as an effect. Originally, though, it was based on a very effective use of a siren in Industrial Symphony by David Lynch.
Jacob's Ladder is probably the most famous of all Silent Hill inspirations.
A fast trip straight down the ladder. Right to the primal fear, right to the base anger.
It tells the story of a Vietnam War veteran, Jacob Singer, who returns from war only to experience terrible visions and hallucinations due to PTSD and experimental drug testing on his military unit.
I don't know who they are or what they are, but they're gonna get me, and I'm scared, Jake.
I've seen them too. Everywhere like a plague.
What happened that night?
Nowhere is the dream-reality line blurred so much as in this movie. Jacob is constantly switching from apparent reality to waking nightmare to Vietnam flashback to alternate apparent reality, and each has an equal chance of being real or illusion. This constant doubt is what Team Silent took from Jacob's Ladder above all else.
The creators of Silent Hill had a central idea: create a hostile world permeated at all times by doubt. And doubt is what gives rise to fear.
Just like the film, Silent Hill starts with Harry getting killed and waking up in the diner, as if from a dream. Or is he waking up from reality? He questions his reality for the rest of the game.
At first, I thought I was losing my mind, but now I know I'm losing my mind.
Am I dead?
A new game plus starts from the very same moment, as if the previous game was the dream. Jacob's Ladder also gave Silent Hill its bad ending, where the game was revealed to be nothing more than a dying dream. Until a new game plus is started, and the cycle starts over again.
The horror of Jacob's Ladder would be in the revelation that hope is hell's final torment, that life is a dream that ends over and over with the final truth, that life was never real, that we are all creatures trapped in eternal suffering and damnation.
Silent Hill got much of its visual style from Jacob's Ladder, including the ever-memorable shaky head guy. And metal grate flooring with industrial fans. The creatures Jacob sees include a nurse with a growth on her head, possible inspiration for the puppet nurses, and Doc Lewis's description of hell is a good answer to Vincent's joke in Silent Hill 3.
They look like monsters to you? If you're frightened of dying and you're holding on, you'll see devils tearing your life away. But if you've made your peace, then the devils are really angels, freeing you from the earth. It's just a matter of how you look at it, that's all.
Silent Hill 2 contains a nod to Jacob's Ladder's director Adrian Lyne with the Linehouse key. The key unlocks Blue Creek Apartment 209, which has a message left on the door for Tim, a possible reference to Jacob singer actor Tim Robbins.
Possible.
Stanley Kubrick's influence on Silent Hill should be obvious enough. Kubrick made The Shining, which is consistently in competition with The Exorcist for the best horror movie of all time, and 2001: A Space Odyssey, where a bunch of weird stuff that could be a dream, could be a metaphor, and nobody really understands happens at the end. He also directed the justifiably lesser appreciated Eyes Wide Shut, which depicts Tom Cruise's crazy dream and or reality about almost cheating on his wife and having weird experiences with a whole bunch of really weird people before crashing a party where cultists perform a mysterious ceremony. But Kubrick's influence on Silent Hill starts to become much less obvious when you look at the movies cited in Lost Memories. Full Metal Jacket is referred to by Masahiro Ito as an unparalleled depiction of sadistic human beings. The film is most widely known for its opening segment, where Leonard Lawrence is bullied and driven to murder-suicide in U.S. Marine basic training. This is most certainly inspiration for Eddie's character, who was bullied by both real people and by his own delusion to the point of psychopathy.
You are a disgusting fat body, Private Pile! Sir, yes, sir! You are a worthless piece of sh**!
Maybe I am nothing but a fat, disgusting piece of sh**.
Hi, Joker.
Just put the gun to their head.
But we can't find any kind of connection whatsoever between Silent Hill and A Clockwork Orange. Lost Memories says it's a unique science fiction film set in a chaotic near future that depicts a juvenile delinquent who is devoted to being as bad as possible and gets arrested, and the way he is reformed as a result of experiments that are performed on him. If anyone can explain how that's supposed to be related to Silent Hill, let us know. We can't see anything in the film's cinematography or art direction either, except for maybe some rundown buildings, but they don't stand out any more than the rundown buildings in any other inspirational films.
The other Kubrick film they cite is Lolita, which is probably the least Silent Hill-esque thing out of all the inspirational works listed. Team Silent wanted Harry Mason's first name to be Humbert, after Lolita's main character Humbert Humbert, played by James Mason, which might be where they got Harry's last name as well.
Oh, Humbert, Humbert, what a thrillingly different name.
This is because they regard Humbert as a doting, dutiful father. The funniest part about this is that the film is the story of a man who marries a widow just so he can get closer to having sex with the woman's 14-year-old daughter Lolita.
What drives me insane is the twofold nature of this nymphette. This mixture in my Lolita of tender, dreamy childishness and a kind of eerie vulgarity.
The movie is played like a comedy, with Peter Sellers' character Claire Quilty acting like a Saturday morning cartoon villain, adopting several disguises in order to get closer to stealing the girl away from Humbert so he can have sex with her himself.
Listen, didn't you have a daughter? Didn't you have a daughter with a lovely name? I noticed when you was checking in, you had a lovely, pretty little girl with you. She was really lovely.
She is a lovely girl, you know. It's a swing, you know, it's a jazz. And she has got a curvatures which I take a lot of notice of.
There's a darling little gun you got there. That's a darling little thing.
This leads to madcap shenanigans as Claire chases Humbert and Lolita across the country.
What's a big fat hurry anyway?
There's been a car following us which we have been trying to lose.
What?
The author of Lost Memories mentions that Lolita's opening shot is reminiscent of Silent Hill 1's opening, but it's really not. This 6-second shot of a car driving into some fog is considerably less like Silent Hill's opening than that of Dean Koontz's Phantoms, whose opening is practically identical, right down to the make and model of Harry's Jeep YJ Wrangler as it's driven down a lonely mountain road to a quiet resort town for a vacation.
Identical.
Other films that bear little resemblance to Silent Hill include Betty Blue and Goku Mantou. Betty Blue is a really slow and bad French film about a man named Zorg who falls in love with Betty, a mentally disturbed woman. They spend half the film naked, and her mental illness is played for laughs for the first 2.5 hours. That's not an exaggeration.
Elle a l'air de s'agiter drôlement, hein?
Ouais, c'est une furieuse du ménage, elle adore ça.
Until Betty discovers she's not going to have a baby and goes completely insane, ending up in a mental institution. After she's there for 2 days, Zorg decides that death is preferable to living as a crazy person and suffocates her with a pillow. Silent Hill 2 was influenced more than a little by this last scene, according to Hiroyuki Owaku.
Goku Mantou, or Devil's Gate Island, is a murder mystery set on an island where all the residents are descended from pirates and criminals.
G'day, mate.
The film opens with that detail, but it doesn't have much bearing on the story. Kendaichi, a private investigator, has been hired by the friend of a dying resident of the island to investigate and prevent the prophesied murders of his 3 ditzoid little sisters. Kendaichi is unable to stop the murders from taking place amidst family drama and intrigue, but he is able to determine the culprit using one very important clue, a collection of haikus. Each of the girls is murdered and then put on display to match a haiku. This might have inspired Team Silent when they wrote puzzle clues and memos in poem and story form to correspond to dead bodies in macabre situations. This is the only thing we can come up with in relation to this film. Lost Memories claims that the film portrays vivid terror and deep characters, which I guess would be true if you're a Japanese person from the 70s.
Back on the relevant side of things, Event Horizon is about the first spaceship built to utilize wormhole technology, but it goes missing on the first attempt. Years later, its distress signal reaches Earth. A rescue mission is mounted, led by Larry Fishburne in his stupid rotating chair.
Mr. Justin, I believe you're up for a walk.
Yes, sir.
The rescue crew discover the Event Horizon abandoned but still functional. Ship's logs reveal that the warp core took the ship to hell and back.
This ship has been beyond the boundaries of our universe. Who knows where it's been and what it's brought back with it? From hell.
The core now emanates evil hell powers that have taken over the ship, and the crew is haunted with visions of dead people from their pasts that drive them all slowly insane.
I'm waiting.
The hellish power from another dimension tainting the ship sounds a lot like what happens to Silent Hill, and the warp core from the film even makes an appearance in the end of Silent Hill 4.
Also appearing in Silent Hill 4 are elements from the movie The Cell. This film features a revolutionary technology that allows Jennifer Lopez to enter other people's minds.
This, gentlemen, is the catalyst that not only maps the mind, it sends the signal to another party.
The FBI asks her to enter the mind of a serial killer who is in a coma in order to find out where he's keeping a missing girl before it's too late.
Whatever state that he happens to be in, he is the only one that knows where she is.
Once inside the killer's dream, she meets both his adult and child forms, much like Henry meeting Walter's adult and child forms when he enters Walter's dream.
Who are you, anyway?
My name's Walter.
But that's my name.
The Cell's killer dreams about display boxes for all his victims, and these could possibly have inspired the display boxes that line the descending staircase in Walter's dream. Don't quote us on that one, because it's a stretch. Lost Memories states that the film helped to inspire Team Silent with visuals that are vivid and beautiful. The director, Tarsum Singh, took inspiration from artwork and music videos, including a video he directed himself. Masahiro Ito also looked to music videos for inspiration, mentioning Chris Cunningham as an influence, who is best known for his strange and disturbing visual style, and, as Lost Memories puts it, treating the dissimulated human form as a motif. Many Silent Hill fans are probably already familiar with his 2005 work Rubber Johnny, which inspired the downpoured life support monster, but the influences go much farther back. Masahiro Ito says,
"When I bought the Aphex Twin video, I was amazed at how good the visuals are."
He's most likely referring to the music video for Aphex Twin's Come to Daddy, released in 1997, which features the warped face of the Aphex Twin himself, speaking to little girls that have his face, and a monster, again with his face, that crawls out of a TV set. He continued this gag in his 1999 video for Window Licker.
In a 2001 interview with IGN, Takayoshi Sato cites David Cronenberg, among other famous directors, as influences on Silent Hill's art direction. The parasite that controls Sybil in Silent Hill 1 is often attributed to the 1986 film Night of the Creeps, in which alien slugs incubate inside people and reanimate corpses.
They get in through your mouth, and you walk around while they incubate, even if you're dead.
While this is certainly a possible source for Sybil's parasite, we think a more likely source is Cronenberg's film Shivers from 1975, in which a scientist creates parasites that enter people's bodies and cause uncontrollable sexual desires that spread the parasite into other hosts and then exit through the host's mouth.
Sato also mentions David Fincher, who directed the 1995 murder mystery Seven, about a pair of detectives hunting a killer whose victims are chosen and executed in a way that resembles Dante's Seven Deadly Sins.
Gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, pride, lust, envy.
The art direction from the film focused on showing filthy, dismal environments.
We created a setting that reflects the moral decay of the people in it. Everything is falling apart and nothing is working properly.
This intention is most apparent in the sequence where the detectives are investigating the killer's apartment. Silent Hill's grungy environments create a similar atmosphere.
For a lesson in symbolic imagery and pure what the H am I looking at effect, Team Silent turned to Alejandro Jodorowsky, whom Lost Memories calls the father of the cult movie. But don't be confused, we're not talking about cult movies. We're talking about cult movies. Jodor's films are full of religious and occult symbols and situations that are meant to be understood unconsciously, if at all. It's most likely their ambiguousness, rather than any single theme, that made it into Silent Hill, although Team Silent was a lot less ambiguous with their imagery in the games.
Words are not the truth. They indicate the way to go, but you need to go alone, in silence. Symbols have a language that kills the words. The unconscious is not a language we speak, like the conscious. We speak the unconscious with actors, with image, with sounds, with colors. This is the language of tarot and the movies.
Jodorowsky films mentioned in Lost Memories include El Topo, which can best be described as a Zen Buddhist cowboy's journey through the Shonen Desert.
En este desierto viven los cuatro maestros del revólver. Tú tienes que encontrarlos y matarlos.
The Holy Mountain, the most bizarre avant-garde clash of mysticism and Christian iconography you'll ever experience.
Do you want gold? Yes. You are excrement. You can change yourself into gold.
And Santa Sangre, which is basically a circus-themed remake of Hitchcock's Psycho.
Kill her! Kill her! Did you hear her? She wants me to kill you with my hands.
Santa Sangre is the closest you can get to a thematic inspiration for Silent Hill, and of the three, it's the film that most closely resembles an actual film.
Wake up! You can't atone for your sins with nightmares.
The main character, Phoenix, has been driven insane by a horrible and violent incident involving his parents and feels that his arms are being controlled by his armless mother, Concha. Throughout the film, we question Phoenix's reality as he works through his psychological trauma.
What's happening to you?
Lost Memories states that Phoenix's mother was supposed to be a model for Claudia, but honestly we can't see how this particular connection is significant. Just like Claudia, Concha is the female leader of a cult. And that's where the similarities end. The parallel they draw could be drawn with literally any other cult leader, and the connection would be just as relevant. Some people have also pointed out the similarity between the creation myth paintings in Silent Hill 3 and the Santa Sangre cult paintings telling the story of their saint. But it's much more likely that both of these are just their respective cults' versions of the Stations of the Cross, a series of images depicting Jesus' crucifixion, found in Christian churches.
Nothing influences art more than other art, and the basis of Silent Hill's disturbing imagery has its roots in disturbing art of centuries past. Cited by Masahiro Ito as one of his favorite artists, Francis Bacon's signature style of rendering distorted figures has made a distinct impact on Ito's creature design for Silent Hill 2 and 3. He has stated that the middle painting of the triptych titled 3 Studies for Figures at the Base of a Crucifixion inspired the mouths of the creatures in the games. Coincidentally, the painting is Bacon's depiction of the 3 Greek Furies, or goddesses of vengeance meant to punish evildoers. This painting also shares similarities with the iconic mouth and ear images found in Silent Hill 3's Hilltop Center, which Masahiro Ito has explained represent Alessa's shrieking insanity and Alessa's mad consciousness, respectively.
Mouth means Alessa's shrieking insanity from the bottom of her heart. Bleeding Ear's case, I wanted to express another world's personality like human. That ear is Alessa's. Bleeding means Alessa's conscious is mad.
A number of Bacon's works depict their subjects surrounded by strange geometric cages. Likewise, multiple Silent Hill creatures were designed surrounded by cages, including Final Boss Mary and Flesh Lips. The shaky head guy from Jacob's Ladder is also in a cage, and Adrian Lyne credited Bacon as an influence for this in the Jacob's Ladder Special Edition DVD commentary.
The Schwicki claims that Bacon's painting 1978 was recreated in Silent Hill 2's Labyrinth. There are similarities. However, we could not find any statements from the creators to back this up, so it's likely, but highly speculative.
Another large influence for Masahiro Ito was the work of Flemish painter Hieronymus Bosch, known for rendering detailed religious concepts and hellish surreal imagery. Bosch's most famous work, the triptych Garden of Earthly Delights, shows Adam and Eve, what is believed to be the introduction of sin and everlasting torment in hell. In this untranslated portion of the making of Silent Hill 3, Masahiro Ito explains that he referenced these paintings because it's a good depiction of pain and suffering, and as such, he took elements directly from the art for his designs, including people, and he points out the insane cancer as an example.
Pieter Bruegel is an artist whose work closely resembles Bosch's, mixing the normal and bizarre in scenes of hellish chaos. Masahiro Ito appears to be a fan of Bruegel's, probably for the same reason he's a fan of Bosch.
Hans Belmer's doll art was long thought to be the inspiration for Silent Hill 2's mannequin monster. Although the resemblance is striking, Masahiro Ito has stated that he was actually inspired by traditional Japanese monsters.
The Gillespie house from Silent Hill 1's introduction is thought to be based on the Olsen house in Cushing, Maine, famously depicted by American artist Andrew Wyatt in his painting Christina's World. Although no known official sources confirm this to be true, the fact that the creators specifically cite Andrew Wyatt's work as inspiration for Silent Hill makes this likely. Wyatt's work at large depicts the typical American countryside, but with an eerie coldness and sense of abandonment. As Takayoshi Sato states, the goal with Silent Hill was to make a small, rural town in America. Considering the focus behind the design, Wyatt's work may have played a larger part in its conception.
When it comes to bizarre and surreal imagery, Team Silent couldn't have been inspired by a more fitting artist than Salvador Dali, whose name is synonymous with surrealism.
Instead of stubbornly attempting to use surrealism for purposes of subversion, it is necessary to try to make of surrealism something as solid, complete, and classic as the works of museums.
Dali's paintings are made up of almost pure symbolism, making them dreamlike and oft confusing. He continually treats the human form, and any other form for that matter, as malleable or liquid, and creates new forms by combining other more normal ones, like screwed up Play-Doh. In this way, he shares an aesthetic with Francis Bacon, albeit with a much more whimsical flair.
What is important is to spread confusion, not eliminate it.
Takayoshi Sato cites Rembrandt as an influence on Silent Hill's art direction. Rembrandt's work relied on the use of chiaroscuro, or high contrast between light and dark, and this technique is used heavily throughout the series. While nothing influences art more than other art, nothing influences the art that influences that art, or anything else, more than real life, the president of all inspirations.
When Team Silent created the town of Silent Hill, they used many real-world locations for inspiration. For example, did you know Centralia, Pennsylvania was
In an interview with OneUp.com, Tom Hewlett said that the apartments in Silent Hill 2 were based off the home of a Konami of America staff member somewhere in the California Bay Area, seen by the Japanese staff when they were poking around the city for inspiration. There are also buildings from Silent Hill 2 that were taken directly from places around San Bruno, California.
In the beginning, when we were working on the original concepts and drawing the designs for TRSHE, our designers took a trip to the USA. We walked around a small town near San Francisco, gathered information, and took photos. We wanted to recreate the feeling of small town USA.
Even though Silent Hill is modeled after small American towns, Team Silent collected reference material for creating the town's maps from actual places in Japan. These include 2 record-setting lakeside towns, Tazawako, home of the largest crater lake in mainland Japan, and Towadako, home of the deepest lake in Japan. The latter even has a Lakeview hotel. It doesn't look anything like the game though.
Religion and the occult are a major focus of Silent Hill. When Team Silent created the town's cult, they took inspiration from real-world beliefs and practices, and the cult became a melting pot of various religious ideas.
The religion of Silent Hill references various elements of different religions, such as the origins of Christianity, Japanese folklore, and Aztec rituals. Original Native American beliefs have to do with animals and spirits that dwell in places, and borrowing their power to make oneself stronger.
The connection to Native American beliefs is made apparent in a book from Silent Hill 2 called Lost Memories, which also states that Silent Hill used to go by another name, but shortly after earlier settlers moved in, the town was abandoned. This is probably a reference to the real-life legend of the lost colony of Roanoke Island, where an entire settlement of people mysteriously disappeared almost overnight, leaving the word Croatoan carved into a tree as the only clue. Coincidentally, or maybe not, Dean Koontz's Phantoms posits that Timothy Flight's ancient enemy was the reason for the disappearance.
And there's a disappearance of the English colony on Roanoke Island, North Carolina in 1590. Many others.
Among other occult sources and references, Team Silent drew from a medieval book of black magic titled Arbatel de Magia Veterum, a grimoire that talks of 7 Olympian spirits that rule the universe, each claiming one of the planets in our solar system as their own. 5 of these spirits, along with their ancient symbols, are used for the locked doors in Nowhere in Silent Hill 1.
The names of doors suggest planets and indicate that a deeper part of the realm of Alessa's mind is being entered.
You can also find their symbols on the big screen at Team Silent's parody of the Virgin Megastore, the Vestal Gigastore. Vestal Virgins were Roman priestesses of Vesta, keepers of the sacred fire. This display is one big mishmash of Roman and Greek mythology and the occult.
The Lemegeton, another grimoire known as the Lesser Key of Solomon, is a magic spellbook apparently penned on behalf of King Solomon and compiled in the 17th century. It contains a rehashed version of Johann Weyr's Pseudomonarchia Daemonum, a demonic Pokedex containing the descriptions of 69 entities, 72 in the Legametum, the 64th of which was Flauros, a leopard man demon that could be summoned to destroy the conjurer's enemies or attack other demons, but only if he was bound in a magic triangle. Accordingly, the Flauros in Silent Hill 1 is a magic triangle that Harry uses to break through Alessa's psychic power.
The Kabbalah, or Jewish mysticism, was another source of religious inspiration for the games. Most notably, the Seal of Metatron, or the Mark of Samael, comes from the archangels Metatron and Samael of various Jewish texts, though their stories vary depending on the source. Metatron was an agent of God, and some texts describe him as the king of angels, a holy scribe and an angel of life, while Samael was known as an angel of death, or the venom of God, and had ties with the forces of evil. Lost Memories hints that these angels were once the same entity according to the Kabbalah.
Also appearing in the Kabbalah is a magical medicinal herb known as Aglaophytus, apparently derived from the peony. Dioscorides, a 1st century Greek physician, claimed that this plant could be used to ward off demons, which is exactly what it does in Silent Hill 1 and 3. Though Aglaophytus also appears in the Necronomicon, where it's described as having the opposite effect, the Kabbalah is explicitly cited in Silent Hill 3, so in this case it's a force of good rather than evil. The cult thinks their god will bring paradise, but the Aglaophytus effect reveals that their god is actually a demon. This mirrors the Christian belief that Satan masquerades as an angel of light.
The ancient Aztecs and Mayans are most remembered for their bloody sacrificial rituals that involve bloodletting and extreme heart removal surgery. This may have inspired the room in Silent Hill 3 that contains an altar where Heather must pay blood tribute, accompanied by a book that talks about ritual sacrifice. Lost Memory states that the Crimson Ceremony from Silent Hill was inspired by Mayan and Aztec ritual sacrifices as well.
The 3 tablets used in the Gallows puzzle in Silent Hill 2 bear images of various Aztec gods using artwork pieced together from an ancient codex, the February Mare. Although particular gods can be identified on the tablets, and theories have been formed tying them to characters in the game, it looks more like they chose images that looked like what they wanted them to represent rather than what they originally represented.
In Silent Hill 3's creation myth, we learn about the gods Zuchobara and Lobsulvith, whose names were inspired by the languages from these cultures. Some fans have attempted to dissect and translate these names, but any real deeper meaning seems unlikely, since Hiroyuki Owaku says he made them up, based on the strange pronunciations of Mayan and Aztec gods.
The names of the gods have Mayan and Aztec motifs. Using the strange pronunciations as a reference, I thought up original ones.
By now you're probably wondering,
hey, we're getting close to the end of the video. Where's that one reference from that one movie? You forgot, didn't you? I can't believe you forget my favorite reference. You really are a bunch of hacks. Honestly, Twin Perfect's really going downhill after...
Actually, we were saving that particular reference for a montage at the end of the video, where we show a bunch of visual references and homages from the games.
Which we might as well just show now, since you've already ruined the introduction for it.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Gee whiz.
Yeah, thanks.
Ugh.
Thanks.
You sure you want to cut class?
Michelowski will see you now. Can I help you?
Say goodbye, James.
Don't say anything. Go to the closet. Don't say anything.
Never mind.
Go in peace, my child. It's a great idea.